Hello and welcome. This is Dieter Staudinger, first officer here at Fearless Flight, and you are watching Fearless Flight live. And I am I'm in a new location, but Capt Ron actually is overseas. He is on a cruise ship on a Northern Lights cruise. So for those of you who may have been following Captain Ron's adventures or have seen the email, he flew from Phoenix to Bergen, Norway, and boarded a cruise ship just a couple of days ago. And so now they are chasing the Northern Lights. And from what I've heard and read, they should be fairly fortunate. And there's a big solar storm coming. And big enough, in fact, that all those in aviation also recognize that solar interference can also impact aircraft. And maybe we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. But for now, if you are new here, this is our weekly live show. And usually it's Captain Ron and myself, but today I'm, for now, flying solo with a surprise guest. And at the end of our show, I will also show a video of an interview that Captain Ron did actually while he was at sea earlier today with a now fearless flyer, or a fearless flyer in training, I should say. But that'll come up a little bit later in the show. So we'll actually play the video of the interview of Brian and Captain Ron at the very end of the show. The other thing, if you are new here, let me just start the slideshow. If you're new here, please know that you are very welcome to post your questions in chat. I'm gonna pull up the a video in a second so that I can actually see the chat as well. But for now, I'm gonna just start our slideshow there. All right, and I'm hoping that you are seeing our, there we go. All right, so the first thing I always want to invite you and encourage you to do is, if you are not a member of our Birds of a Feather group, please go and join. And if you want to join, please also make sure that you answer all the questions, because we really want this group to be a nurturing, safe place for everyone. And so there are a couple of rules, and I'm going to say just common courtesies that we ask you to agree and abide by. And then you can get the full benefit of being in our Birds of a Feather Facebook group. And so tonight's topics, I teased it already. We have a we have a surprise guest, and then we also have the special guest interview with Brian Ceranic. And of course, if there are any questions and comments, please make them known. But for now, let's actually go and welcome. Just give me a second here. Welcome I can see they're already on their way in. I haven't actually, I'm not getting your video, guys, yet. I'm gonna start. There we go. So hopefully, if all goes well, we have some surprise guests.
Oh, I know.
And
I
it's
gotta fix that. How do I do
so,
that? I forgot.
so
Go to
I'm
video.
not, so this is not from the afterlife or the life in between.
We're all blue with blue fangs and stuff.
I know. Hi,
Yes.
everybody.
Hi guys. It's
Wait.
that's a surprise. So you may want to turn off the background image.
I think she got it.
Okay, perfect. And then yeah, just start your video. There
Yes.
you go.
There we go. Surprise.
It's been a long time.
Long time. Hi,
What a
everybody.
surprise. Great to see you.
Too long. We miss you guys very much.
Miss you all.
Yeah, for all of you guys who are watching and don't know, so this is Captain Eric and Flight Attendant Diane, who were contributors for a while on the Fearless Flight show, and then of course, just as retired people are, got way too busy with enjoying life.
Yes,
And
retirement is fun.
retirement is fun. Well,
It's fun.
yes, I'm working towards it.
Yeah, right.
Yes, you are.
You are. But you're young. You can take it.
That's true. That's true. So you guys are coming in from Phoenix, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
For those who are watching who may not know. And just to kind of like give a little bit of a background, Captain Eric actually flew with Captain Ron a long time ago, almost another lifetime. But I'll let you just quickly give our viewers kind of like a synopsis of how you came to Fearless Flight, Captain Ron, and how it is that the two of you are joining us here from Moon Valley, Phoenix.
Yes.
Well, I started with a small airline in Phoenix in 1988, America West Airlines, who got married to US Air, who got married to American. And I flew with Captain Ron some in the very early 90s, not too often, because I got an affinity for very late night flying, which most of my sane captain friends did not. But I knew him through work and started helping out with Fearless Flight years and years ago. And I met Flight Attendant Diane through Fearless Flight. And unfortunately, we've parted ways professionally, but I'm happy to see you guys tonight and answer questions and do what I can for Dieter.
I can't hear you.
Muted. Oh man, how'd he mute?
You're
You got it.
Just
That's
have to
better.
find the button, that's all.
Oh, that's what I had to do too. I had to find the right button.
That's right. So Diane, tell us how are you how did you come to be connected with Fearless Flight?
Sure. I'm a volunteer at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. We are the navigators and we help people who are lost and have questions, all that sort of thing. And I've been doing that now for 21 years. And I actually met Captain Ron that way, about 9 or 10 years ago, and asked if I could just sit in on one of his classes so I could better assist the passengers that I dealt with at the airport, and just continue to volunteer there. And then partway through that service, I became a flight attendant and flew for 5.5 years with Sky. Oh, I shouldn't say that. With a small. Oops. Oh, I'm retired. I can say that now.
You can say whatever you like.
I can say stop. I can
fire you.
I can say they can't fire me.
Yeah, exactly.
I can say anything I want to. But no, I started flying a flight attendant with SkyWest Airlines, which is the largest regional airline in the United States. And we fly for Alaska, American, Delta, and United. And so I was fortunate to be based here. And then through Fearless Flight, met Eric, Captain Eric, met you, Dieter, and have enjoyed so much working with all of our fearful flyers and helping them get themselves to the non-fearful state. Yeah.
That is so awesome. And yes, I definitely loved our classes, both in Phoenix and LA, when we actually physically were occupying the same space. Actually, I have a question for you, Captain Eric. I kind of alluded to it, but somebody picked up on it. So there are some solar storms or heightened solar activity over the next few days. And the question is, how does that impact the equipment on an airplane, and what kind of redundancies do airplanes have in case something happens? So I think that's a perfect question there.
That's a really good question, and I wish somebody had asked me my favorite color to start with, but I'll dive in on that and answer what I can. And
Blue.
Some of it I don't know. However, that's a legitimate worry in terms of bombardment of the aircraft at very high northern and southern latitudes, with not much ozone and boundary layer to take care of them. But in flight, so much, I would call it at or near zero risk. They're mostly worried about long-term degradation of software in the aircraft that is used for programming nav computers in the airplane. And even though we've heard about a lot of this recently, the manufacturers, out of a preponderance of caution, are doing what they can, not doing what they can. They're pulling all of this stuff out and replacing it, and doing what they can to harden and shield areas where this might be vulnerable. But is it going to drop an airplane? No. Is an airplane going to get lost? No. None of that stuff that happens to the Coyote and the Roadrunner cartoon is going to happen. But
no animals.
But wear and tear on the operating systems, yes, that's happening.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's really more the long-term exposure rather than the acute issue of some solar activity knocking out, like I don't know, knocking out all your navigation systems or things like that.
Much better stated than I said. Yes, that's exactly correct.
I do my best. So and while we're on the subject of solar activity, there's another question, and that says, how come, that seems like a trivial question, but I want to point out, how come that the cockpit glass is not completely darkened? Because when you guys fly towards the sun, how can you visually make things out? That's a great question, actually. That's Ariana asked that question, and that's a great question. I've often wondered that myself, actually.
Good job, Ariana. And multiple of the very large U.S. pilots unions would like to hire you right now as a chief antagonist for their next negotiations. The windshields have multiple layers of strength reinforcing material plus glass to help in case of impact and for light shielding. But in terms of like polarized lenses and glasses, no, that comes under the too bad, so sad department. But in seriousness, we do what we can, like in a car, to block the sun. And this probably doesn't help you a lot, Ariana. So if you start to feel uncomfortable, plug your ears and I'll keep going. We don't actually really need to see out the window at all. So
let's face it, at night, you're not seeing it.
As one of my friends used to say when we would come back from Hawaii, and it was a huge bet on whether we could beat the sunrise into Phoenix and make our life much more pleasant. He goes, I feel good about living through another sunrise but I didn't actually need to be up to watch it.
Yeah.
So we can detect traffic, navigation, everything we need to do without looking out the window. And when we get in close, we do look out the window, and we have to.
And the other thing is when I've had the opportunity to be in the flight deck, when one of the pilots has to go back and use the lavatory, one flight attendant has to go into the flight deck because there can never be only one pilot there. And if it's really, really, going into the sun, as you've described, I mean, they have on sunglasses, and some of the pilots, if they're wearing short sleeve shirts, the ladies and the men will wear sleeves, white sleeves, because they can get sunburn. And so they dude up, so to speak, to help them avoid, even though it's protective, to avoid sunburn and that sort of thing.
Well stated by Flight Attendant Diane. Most of us, many decade veteran pilots, are in our dermatologist platinum club. We have reserved seating and that sort of thing.
Because that's above the ozone. That's above. I mean, that's above the ozone. So
because of the impact we took.
They're not as protected by the layers of air that we are on the ground.
I don't know if that helped you, Ariana, but you can unplug your ears now.
Okay, it's okay.
I did see some thumbs up and some likes, so
it's okay. It's okay.
I can't say that was her, but it helped maybe others. So
yeah.
You guys are always up on things in the world of aviation. Are there any things that kind of piqued your interest over the last little while?
Well, yeah, the one of the big things, keeping in mind I'm retired and I did not fly for Southwest, but I am still on lots of Facebook pages that are a flight attendant, aviation geared, and not proprietary, but with all of the comments. And there are many, I can't even describe how many posts with regard to the change in Southwest for their seating, their boarding policy now with assigned seating. And actually the interesting comments from the passengers, not so much from the flight attendants, but from the passengers, is that the assigned seating is not the problem as much, but the bin capacity, where they're putting their carry-on bags. Back in the day when passengers could pick their own seats, they could get their bag over their seat, their row, pretty much easily. And now with the assigned seating and the different boarding groups, and keep in mind, I have not yet had the wonderful experience of this changed policy, but the complaints are that passengers are now putting their bags in locations which are not directly above their seat because of who gets boarded, whether it's from the back of the plane, the front of the plane, the window aisle, the middle seats, all those other kinds of things, so that by the time many of the passengers board, there's no bin space at all. And there has always been a certain degree of problem with regard to people boarding and they're sitting in the back of the plane, but they put their bags near the front. And flight attendants, we've tried very hard to make sure that doesn't happen, but we are not omniscient, and we're very often very busy. But the bottom line is, and I had explained once on my own posting, and I would say it very sweetly to passengers who complained about that you bought the seat, you didn't buy the bin. And it's very difficult for passengers to understand that. Bin space is sort of community space. The only space that's really, really yours is directly underneath the seat in front of you. And all too often people bring on a rollerboard and then maybe a backpack or something like that, and they put both of them in the overhead bin, and that's a no-no. You really need to put one underneath. I'm not quite sure how Southwest is going to go forward in trying to reduce the difficulty and the contentious atmosphere that exists on some of the aircraft with regard to bin fighting, which sounds stupid. But the other thing is that with the change as far as no more 2 bags free to check, more people for Southwest are bringing them on. So there's there's a lot of problems that need to be ironed out with this change in their boarding policy. And I hope very much that it gets ironed out. A lot of dedicated Southwest passengers are now talking about going to other airlines because the advantages that they saw with that particular policy, and those are gone away. So, and of course the flight attendants are in the middle of a food fight, and that's never where we want to be. So
That's funny. Shelley, in the comments mentions, actually the same thing that you just said. It seems that, now that everybody has assigned seats and we have to pay for bags like every other airline, there never is space anymore for my roller bag.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that is just because Southwest has like one of the most loyal, I would say, follower ridership, whatever
Right.
however you call that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But all of them are in the same boat, right?
Right,
All
right,
of them now have assigned seats, and they can't, get their bags in for free. So everybody's. So do you think that that's just growing pains
I think
amongst?
probably, yes, I agree. I think that the Southwest, and I've been when I was flying, and I needed to get somewhere, I would always, if I couldn't non-rev fly for free, I would always buy a Southwest ticket, because that was, for most of us flight attendants, that was a really good backup plan. And so as you well said, the loyalty aspect is huge. And so it's harder for those individuals to acknowledge the change or be happy with the change. I think it is growing pains to a greater degree. And it's something not only for the passengers, but for the airline itself, whether or not they want to modify some of the changes they've made. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I know that for us here at Fearless Flight, that change definitely put a little or a big wrinkle into our ability to fly with people.
Sure.
So I think there may be an option to purchase like a 10-pack, so to speak, of seats, but it certainly will change how we need to ensure that we have enough people who already committed.
Yes.
And as you guys well know, if confidence is an issue, why would you want to lay out money for something that you're not even sure you're gonna take advantage of, right? So we'll see how that kind of plays out for us. It was certainly a great blessing to be able to go on to the plane, sit together all in the same space. I know we've done it together a few times. It's always been a lot of fun, but obviously that doesn't work anymore, because now that everybody has assigned seating, every seat is going to be a different price for at different times, and so we'll definitely have to figure something out.
Yeah, much more of a challenge, but
it's much more of a challenge, yes.
challenge.
But I will answer another question. So there was a question about the Phoenix class. So we won't have a class in March. And the new classes will be posted on the website. Actually, off the top of my head, I don't know exactly when the next one is. I believe it's May. Is gonna be the next class, because Capt Ron's gonna be gone for a couple weeks. Then we might throw in a Air Hollywood cleared for takeoff 101 class sometime in April, and then we'll have the 101 class in Phoenix again, which that class is always free, and it even includes still free parking, which is amazing. I think you should even come for the free parking, like I've paid for parking at Sky Harbor. It's expensive, so
It is, yeah. No,
uh
a lot of other airports. I'm gonna put a plug in for Sky Harbor, but yeah, definitely.
True.
In San Francisco or some in LAX, it could be, well, we'll just say they're all kind of pricey.
Yeah, I think they're all pricey. Actually, I have a question for you, Captain Eric. Because I know you follow the MH370. What's been the latest? Because they did start another expedition or another project, right? To locate.
Yes. There
So
hasn't been super current reporting, but they're underway. And this, you're gonna make me pull a muscle, but I believe it's British physicist Robert Goddard. I'll have to look him up and I'll issue a correction. That's not right. Figured out a manner in which the HF radios in the airplane, whether or not the airplane was communicating with a station or not, went through certain waves that were transmitted at various frequencies, and by this manner they could determine the position of the airplane. And he feels quite sure that he knows nearly exactly where it is, and the expedition is finally going out to look in that spot. There were lots of conflicting interests of even finding the airplane to start with, and searches in areas that proved fruitless. And this guy said, no, it's right there. That's the easy part. The bad part is it's in 4,000 meters of water, which is below sport diving depth. But if they can get out there with the cameras and so on and so forth and see it, I feel personally that recovery is imminent.
oh wow.
I really feel like they will find it. They will get on it. Recovery's been imminent, but they haven't. There hasn't been reporting on it, but they're offshore and out to the spot. The spot being the most remote part of the ocean in the world to look, and I believe in my heart of hearts they'll find it.
Yeah, that would certainly be something.
Huge
After all these years, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy to
Yes,
think
it is.
about. But I'm sure it will bring a lot of closure to those families and
Exactly.
yeah, and the
Right.
ones left behind. I really wanna just quickly share. Hold on for a second here. We have a I should say it this way. This month's topic for our monthly group coaching call, and I don't know what it was about talking about MH370, but how to get ready for long haul flights is going to be our topic. Because we often get questions, or let's put it this way. I can do a 2-hour flight or a 1-hour flight, but a 5-hour flight, seems like totally out of the realm of the possible. And so we're actually going to have an entire webinar of helping you prepare for a long haul flight, because partly, being on a plane for a longer time, just from a mental aspect psychologically, is you're also trapped for longer, right? So
That's true.
in that sense, that anxiety, whether it's anticipatory or actually right during a 5-hour flight or a 7-hour flight or a 10-hour flight, it's different to manage, and that I definitely want to acknowledge. You manage a 10-hour flight differently from a 1-hour flight. And so this upcoming monthly group coaching webinar is going to be all about how to prepare for it, how to manage it. And let me just double check, because
and
yeah.
there's one thing, Dieter, that even Eric and I flew last summer nonstop from Phoenix to London, and that's a long flight. And even for people who love to fly and who are comfortable flying for longer periods of time, even for us, I don't want to say it's a challenge, but it's it's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, it is.
So
It's tough.
it is, it's tough. And it's tough for us. And we did it. I mean, you did it for a living for decades, and I did it for a living for a long time, 5.5 years. So those individuals are fearful flyers who were concerned over a long haul flight. Understand that we get it. We really get it. It's not an uncommon sensation. So they need to start off thinking, no, it's okay.
I would love it if you guys could get some of the former fearful flyers that were longtime clients of ours, and they would come by or come back and they show us their world tour, their world tour photos, and like, oh, I don't even want to go to Walgreens and look at vacation photos anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, once the light switch went off, they went to Europe, they went to Africa, they went to a lot of places with very poor train service from America that I've never been.
Yeah.
And they're just happy as clams, just hitting this stuff. So it's a mental battle more than a physical battle by far.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah, for sure. And then add to the mental battle the fact that it's longer, and then physically it's also even more draining.
Yeah, exactly. It's tiring.
But I want to make sure that I put the date out there as well, because it's not our regular third Thursday. It's actually February 26th at 6:30 Pacific and 9:30 Eastern. And again, that's all going to be around flying long distances, which could include flying over water.
Sure.
I know a lot of people have challenges with either flying long distances or flying over water with the idea that there is no place to land, right? So that can add some stress onto that. And without getting too much in the weeds, there are, even from the side of the airlines, planes have to be certified differently, right? For longer periods or longer flights than shorter flights. Eric, if you want to say.
Yeah, that's a whole nother deal, and Dieter can tell you in the library where you can pull that section on ETOPS flights, ETOPS, Extended Twin Engine Operation Certification, which only happened in 1986. TWA got the first certification. Before that, only 3 and 4 engine airplanes could go over water. And the airlines went to the FAA and said, hey, we have these extremely reliable engines with lots of backup systems. How would you feel about certifying us for this over water stuff? And the FAA goes, well, great. After we make you jump through a million hoops and entertain ourselves with it, sure. And so they made the airlines jump through a million hoops to entertain themselves with it. And there's special certifications, special rules, completion factors. Everything's got to be working in the high 99% of the times. And really, there's been no hiccups with ever dispatching these airplanes 2 engine over water. And as Dieter said, well, it's a feeling you look out the window and there's nowhere to land. Well, that's not really true. There's always an alternate going over water, and the airplanes are dispatched with an alternate within 2 hours of 1 engine flight time, or within 3 hours of 1 engine flight time, depending on how the flight is dispatched and what the airplane is certified for. And on rare occasions, the airplanes have done it, and it is not a problem. So even though you look down and go, there's no there there, there is a there there.
There's a there.
You're just you're just not looking at it.
Right.
And the pilots are paying rapt attention to where they are, what their deviation point is at any minute, to which place they're going to go to, and continuous monitoring of the fuel burn.
Because that changes, right? As a plane moves, along its flight path, the alternates also change with that, right?
That's correct. So you're continuously watching weather at those alternates, and your fuel burn. There's always a goal to be under your fuel burn at the point the dispatcher had estimated you would be, and you're really paying rapt attention to it. I don't know if I just have forgotten about more things since when I had hair, but I actually found it less stressful going, well, if something bad happens, I'm going to X. I'm not going to X's sister's house. I'm not going to X's aunt's house. I'm going to X. And that's the only place I'm going to go. And I don't have to worry about planning anything else because I'm absolutely positively going to X for the holidays and nowhere else. Whereas you're flying across the country, you go, well, I could go there, or I could go over here, or I could go over there, or I could do this. You have all these other variables that are options.
Yeah.
Well, hey, there's a cool shout out. Sandra, you guys remember Sandra? She says,
Yes.
you guys were on my maiden flight, and I
Yes,
remember.
we
Oh,
were.
right. Oh my God.
Yes, we flew out of Burbank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sandra might remember. Was that a flight we flew to
Sacramento.
Sacramento, right?
Yeah.
And so she says, nice to see you both. And
Oh, how sweet.
yeah, so that's really cool. I haven't seen Tracy on yet, so we gotta inquire what Tracy went, what happened to her tonight. But I just want to thank you guys. Let me just see if there's no other comments or questions.
I had one funny thing to say about the fact Eric's talking about looking out the window and for the passengers seeing nothing but water. One of the things more often than not that I got as a flight attendant from passengers who were sitting in the window seat, they'd say, Miss, could you come over? I go over and they say, what is that down there? And they would look out the window and there was something there. And when I started flying, I was being very good and I tried to figure out what it was. Most of the time I didn't know. After I'd been flying for a while and I became inured to those kinds of questions, unless it was the Grand Canyon, I had no idea where we were. Okay, I just knew we were at 35,000 feet. That's all I knew. And my stock answer became, when they said, what is that down there? I looked down and I said, well, that's the ground and we're up in the air. And then I would turn around and walk away. And that was very effective, actually.
Good answer.
Okay. So that's flight attendant humor. That's all.
Hey, Dieter, do you have 60 seconds for me to close with a story from the chicken story?
Oh, absolutely. Go for it, because we're going to have that. And then we're going to say our goodbyes. And then I'm going to put on that interview that Capt Ron did with Brian earlier in the day. And we're just going to let that run. But we're going to say our goodbyes before then. Okay.
All right.
Okay, this is a story from one of my dearest flight attendant friends.
And
whose name is not going to
be mentioned unless she wants to, but we'll credit her later if she wants to. She was both a flight attendant and a gate agent because she really loved to absorb pain from all different positions. And she told me this story, and after 30, or both of us, yes, I'm sorry, both of us a story. It was over here. And after 30-something years in the industry, I have never, ever heard a better descriptor of poor airline behavior. And she said, you know, I went home the other day to the store and I want to buy a rotisserie chicken at the deli to take home, and they were out. And so the small fellow from behind the deli came out. There were about 10 of us waiting. And he says, we're going to have the chickens out here in about 7 or 8 minutes. And there'll be plenty for everybody. And so people did other shopping. They looked at their phones. They all stood around peacefully. And then about 7 or 8 minutes, the chickens came out. And they all bought chickens and they went home for dinner. And which normally be the end of the story, but she goes, do you think that would have happened in an airport? And she goes, no. She says, it absolutely wouldn't have happened in the airport. She says, one of the people, or all of them, would have said, we need to talk to a chicken supervisor right now. And we need 4 free chicken vouchers, not counting this chicken. And I need a 1-year chicken priority lounge membership. I also need 50,000 chicken miles deposited into my frequent chicken account. And I need all of it right now with a descriptor in the middle of those last 2 words starting with F. And she goes, that's absolutely how it would have turned out in the airport. They would have gone crazy. And she's right. She's exactly right. So I had to tell this to you guys, and I really wish I could unthink it, but it's kind of like the Macarena song, and it's stuck in there, and it won't go away.
Right. They don't want chicken first class seats.
Yeah, they want chicken first
and
class
extra
seats.
chicken bins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bigger
chicken big space. Yes.
More chicken bin space.
Yes.
And it's true.
Oh my
It's
God.
sad, but pretty well correct.
It is pretty correct. Well.
Oh, well,
So
thank
as
you.
always, my first, middle, and last advice is just pack your patience. Just be patient. Just be patient, and you get your chicken eventually.
Sure.
By the way, if you don't know it, Sandra does want you to know that she flies all over the place now. So,
Oh, good.
yes, absolutely.
Good for you, Sandra.
Yay to everyone. Yay to everybody out there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And I know Susan Hopkins. I don't know if you guys remember her.
Oh,
She
yeah,
was,
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So, I think she's about to fly or just flew. Actually, Susan, you can correct me. I don't remember, but I know she was working herself back into it, because it's kind of like working out and exercise. It doesn't really help to remember how much we worked out 5 years ago. It's one of those things we gotta keep working on.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, you gotta keep doing it. Muscle memory.
And one of the best ways to keep working at it is by joining,
Yes.
this free weekly show and all the other programs that we offer here at Fearless Flight.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to say thank you to both of you. It was certainly a lot of fun. Great seeing you guys. And Sandra says, yes, thank you for all of your help back in those days.
Oh.
So
Back
That's
in those
awesome.
days,
Welcome.
that's perfect.
Thank you to all.
that is perfect. And I'm gonna say, you guys can jump off or you can stay on and watch the video, because I'm basically gonna end the show here, and then the interview is gonna just play, and at that point the live show will end right there afterwards. So thanks again for coming.
Oh, well, thanks for having us. It was great.
Of course.
Yeah.
And all we now need is Capt Ron to take some great pictures of Northern Lights, and then hope on. I do want to say this, because some of you might have seen the post that their luggage didn't arrive, and but it did end up showing up just in time before they boarded the cruise. So they do have their
another point as far as whenever you fly, and we do this all the time. I don't care where you're flying, how long you're flying, or anything else. If you have a rollerboard, which you should have a rollerboard, always bring your medicines, your car keys, your important documents, a change of underwear, at least, and maybe a bathing suit, but have enough clothes with you on the plane to get you past 2 days, at least 2 days.
For sure.
Also, your dive computers and regulators. The rest of the stuff, you can freaking deal with when you get there. But that's something you gotta have.
Yes. I always say, bring you make sure you have your passport and your credit card. Everything else is figure outable.
Exactly. So, the rule with packing is get completely packed, and then just before you go, take out half the clothes and add twice the money. So
yeah, that's very good.
Yeah,
that's good advice.
Everybody, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And so we're gonna close here with the interview of Captain Ron and Brian. And Brian flew up to Seattle just a little earlier. Yeah, actually just a few days ago, I think. And so I will hopefully be able to play that interview for all of you guys right now.
There they are.
Hey, everybody. Really exciting for me tonight. What's really exciting is I'm not even in the States right now. I'm over in Norway on a cruise ship. And this is the quality of people that come to me for help with flight anxiety. Brian Cernick is just unbelievable. And you can see his lovely face there. And I wanted to get him on the show tonight. I thought you may be seeing me live tonight, or you may be hearing Dieter show this video here, but because I got to stay up to 3:30 in the morning if I'm going to be live in there. But anyway, Brian just came to me. When did we first talk, Brian? Do you remember?
Wasn't it early January? Yeah,
Oh,
I think
yeah,
early
first
January.
part of this year. And
Yeah.
and how long has flying been bugging you?
Bugging me, I can think back to 2018, but like because I didn't fly much during that point, but
Sure.
certainly consistently after like 2021.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and you're 25, and what I was surprised years ago, I did a little survey informally, and I found that 60 to 70% of the people are between 18 and 40. So you're right in there. And I was surprised. I thought it'd be mostly older codgers like me, but it's not. It tends to be the biggest group are people early in their life there. And so you've talked about being fascinated with airplanes as a kid and watching crash videos. So I wanted to talk about that.
Guilty as charged.
So tell me, share with me, share with everybody out there what it was like, why the crash videos?
Yeah, well, like, I mean, you and I established this very early on in our talk. It's like, it's not about seeing the people get hurt. It's just
No.
like, wow, like, air travel being all that it is, and as magical and as fascinating as it is, I was always just like, when YouTube, I was like 10, 13, very young, and like kind of growing up on what I call the Wild West of YouTube or the internet, where it's like you don't know what you're gonna find on there.
Right.
And after a while, I was just like, wow, this is kind of crazy, because like this, seeing planes fly over my house. I live in Los Angeles, and I right under a flight path, and
Sure.
I've always been fascinated. But it's just like, wow, what could go wrong that would take that beast out of the sky, and all these people. This is anxiety inducing for me. I'm sure people watching, like, what could take that beast out of the sky, and these people's lives are just gone now. So that, and being very young, that kind of like got its hold. It wasn't like an addiction, but it was just like, wow, it was just sort of something that was like I found fascinating, that I watched, and then after so long, I think it just not like years, but it was just like after that initial exposure, I think that's what kind of added to this or formed this anxiety for me.
Yeah. And you weren't even born during 9/11, were you? Or were you?
I was in 2000, but I don't remember it.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
And the thing, let me offer my experience talking to people in my own being a human being, is that one, curiosity, and there's little that's more curiosity invoking than watching an airplane fly, right? I mean, even with all my experience, there's a part of me, a little kid part of me, that says, wow, that's really cool. It can not only get into the air with all that big hunky jump, but it'll stay there. And then the other part is, as I think it's human, when you see an accident in the freeway, as hard as you try not to look at it, there's a curiosity. I think we feel connected in some way to people. We want to know if they got hurt or not, and
Because it could be any of us. It really
could be
could.
any of us. I think that's
Yeah.
it. And that's a key to people who have flight anxiety, is that, why me, and I think it's better to get onto that, it could be any of us, and you just look at that. So I commend you for doing that, but it had a downside for you, right?
It did. Just after a long time, and all that exposure, it kind of, I started to notice, like, yeah, getting on, there was a period between 2014 and roughly 2021, with one exception, that I just did not fly at all. And kind of in the middle of that, it's not like it was a TV show that I'm like, time to watch people die on YouTube, but it was just sort of like a thing that, oh, that's an interesting video, watch that, whatever. And slowly but surely over these 7 years, it's like, you don't fly, you also watch like the doom stories of plane, and then, just hearing about, crashes here, here and there, and then what can always go wrong. Like I remember seeing, not back then, but I more recently saw the video of you being interviewed on the news about the Malaysian flight, and that's something that we all heard about. So this thing kind of grew in the dark, and that was a phrase that you had mentioned. Like it's when you're in Fearless Flight, Captain Ron's Fearless Flight.
Oh, we froze.
You're talking to other people in the community,
Yeah.
and I think just as important as that is, like, even if you don't think talking about it means anything, it brings it to light. It lets it not grow in the dark, and I think that is probably the biggest one of the biggest keys to getting over this thing, is because, like, I had 7 years of having it grow in the dark, and that first flight I got in, essentially, with one exception, that first flight in a long time, I was like, whoa, this doesn't feel right, it grabs you, and yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really a key thing, is that I noticed in you, and I call it courage, because that's what it is to me, is that you said, okay, I'm not going to keep obsessing about this. I'm not going to keep it in the dark. I'm going to reach out and do something. And I think you remember the Birds of a Feather group that we have. Yeah, and that's because I think the biggest thing most people need is validation that they're not the only ones out there. They're not crazy, because when we get stuff that happens up here between our ears and it's negative, we always want to first go, well, what's wrong with me? Why isn't everybody else have that? And the reality of flight anxiety, 25 to 30% of people on the airplane are just like you. So and so was the fear about watching the crash videos, or was it something else?
It for a while it was it was the fear of crashing, and along with that it was the fear of turbulence. And I think, like, when I started going to school in Nashville in 2021, just coming home for breaks and everything, it was the 3-hour flight to and from Los Angeles, and that one was tough. And I think after a decent amount of those flights, it made me uncomfortable, but it was also like, I've done this quite a bit. It was sort of like this in between. Looking back, it was like, wow, I wasn't as nervous about it as I am now, but it was certainly offsetting. And it shifted from not wanting to be on the plane really at all to, okay, I can get through the takeoff, and I can get through the turbulence, and that was a bad one for a long time, because it was like I hate roller coasters, so that doesn't help. And that one was really tough. And there was a flight that I took with my mom, and it was so bumpy the whole way to Nashville, all 3 hours. And I talked with her, and she was never like, just get over it at all. But she was just like, yeah, it just doesn't really bother me. Yeah. And so it took a good amount of flights to get through that, and they were shorter flights, 2-3 hours. But and then landing as well, and that used to be kind of anxiety inducing. It still is, but it's better now. Since I've kind of brought this thing to light in my own mind, now I would say it's pretty much just the takeoff is fine, the climbing is fine for me. It's still like adrenaline, it's still a little nerve-wracking, but I think for me it's the boredom as far as the cruise, just being so high up, and as we've talked about, this phrase of like being hurled through the air. And one thing that, like, again, living under this flight path, sometimes I see the planes right off from Burbank where they're low. Other times, the planes that aren't stopping in LA, you can still see them where they're so high. I'm like,
going over high altitude.
And I'm just like, there's nothing that you could do to make me want to be up in that plane right now. And I thought about that on my 2 recent flights, where I was at that elevation, and I was like, here I am in that spot where I've always said I don't want to be, and I'm like, it's not that the fear goes away, but I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of fine right now. I'm doing these exercises that we'll probably talk about in a little bit, but that was a big part of it. But I'm like, you know what? It's that exposure, and as we've talked about, getting out of your chair and in the air. You just gotta do it. It's the anticipation is always gonna be worse than what it actually is. That's how I really feel.
And my next question was going to be, what was the difference between this and the last flight that you had?
So the flight that made me get in touch with Captain Ron here was coming back from Seattle. I have a long distance relationship. The girl lives in Seattle, and on the way out there, I was nervous, and I noticed, I'm like, well, I'm flying so I can go see her, for a week. And on the way back, I'd been tied to her at the hip for 5 days. I was tired. The plane had a little delay as well. And when we were about to take off, I was sapped. I had no energy, no nothing. I had no exercises mentally to run through. And when we got up in the air, that first 20 minutes, I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to make the next 2 hours. I feel like the motion, the sensation, I hate this. I don't know how I did it.
Some time ago, right? What time frame?
This is like December 10th-ish. Is that right? Yeah, roughly December 10th of 25.
So just last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
And so I got through it, and that first 20 minutes just took me out. It was I didn't make a scene or anything, but it was just like the mental uncomfortable aspect was just unbelievable. So it was, I don't know if I'm going to call it a panic attack, but it's probably the closest thing I've had.
Yeah.
And what changed was this flight, I took another one up to Seattle recently, and I had all the ammunition in the world to fight this stuff. Obviously, it's the easier flight because I'm like, I get to go see my girlfriend, and I get to like go take time off work and everything, and it's very exciting. And on the way back, it has, as we've talked about, it has that kind of like a natural down where it's like, okay, well, I went on my vacation, I got to see her, now I have to go back to normality, and that sucks, or it can suck.
Yeah, I think that's important to realize that, it's emotionally draining being with somebody you love. You got to leave them, and you have a good time. And then when you do go back to reality, going back to work and all that, so that contributes to that. And I think it's really insightful on your part to recognize that, because I don't think a lot of people do. They think it's all the airplane, it's all the flying, but it's complex. Yeah.
Very much.
You said something really important. The flights were better, not perfect, and that mattered. Why do you think your mindset was up like that? Why was that significant?
See, that phrase is one of the first things that I heard you talk about on your website, and I have kind of a history with my own anxiety that I've dealt with starting at about roughly 2020, going through like 2023. Roughly in 23, that's when I'm like, okay, this is something I deal with, and it was not flight related at all. Weirdly enough, that was a different, I guess, aspect of it. But it was just in my personal life where I just felt like I had like kind of a couple run-ins with some panic attacks and that kind of thing, and I'm like, I gotta figure out a way to get through this, because anyway, luckily an uncle of mine had found this app, this guy named Dr. Judd Brewer, who he runs an app, and he has like a lot.
He's a fan of Judd Brewer.
You know him. Okay.
Oh, great work. Yeah. Yep.
And he changed my life, and using this app. I mean, like everybody with their initial fix where you have to put in work, I was just like, I would do it for a little bit and then didn't, and then do it like, the app had like exercises and whatnot. Sure. And once I finally, it took a while, but once I finally like applied myself and did it consistently and like really trained my mind, I'm still not perfect at it, but I've gotten so much better. And the same thing is I can see with flying. It's mind exercises, it's mindfulness, it's slowing your thinking down, which is something we've talked about, and it didn't make this conquering the fear, because I still haven't done that, of flying like easy, but it made it easier. That's all I can really ask for. So that was the same kind of mission statement essentially that Brewer had about his app. You never really it's so interesting, and I've noticed this last couple of weeks. You never really lose the fear, and you might be able to, but you never forget it. You know what you've been through. Right. But I was thinking like, okay, I had in 2023, it was like summer of 23. That's when I had a bad experience with anxiety, panic attacks. So I started the app that kind of year and eventually got into it. Here I am in early 26, and just seeing the change of like, I sleep better now. It doesn't mean it's perfect, but I sleep way better. Yeah. I can go about my day and not be bogged down by anxiety this and anxiety that. Again, it's not perfect, but it is so much better that I feel like the threshold between how I used to be pre-anxiety and how I am now post-anxiety, or post-treatment in a way, it's so close. You know what you've been through, but that's almost like the only thing that ties me back to where I've been. I know I dealt with it. I know I deal with it, but I'm still, it's okay. It's normal now.
Yeah. When I started this 39 years ago, I thought, okay, there's got to be something that you can help people get over it, break through. Now, to me, as you expressed, it's more about learning to coexist with it. And,
Yeah, good word.
And because when it comes up, it's hard to remember it but a lot of people were okay, and then there was something that triggered them, maybe about other things in their life, but certainly it moved over to migrated to flying. But they think, and we hope for sure as human beings that we'll have a breakthrough and then it'll just go away. And I tell you, and I wouldn't say that won't happen to anybody, but it's very, very unlikely over my experience of 39 years. It's more likely to see people like you with the courage and the discipline to do something in it, you know, before you get on the airplane, because it really seems to help. You talked about Judd Brewer's app. I've read at least 2 of his books, and I've listened to his podcast. I steal from anybody I can, but I love his work. And there's the other one, I don't know if we talked about it, but the other one is Chatter by a fella named Crow. I forget Cross. Kross is his last name, but he talks about techniques and stuff like that. What were some of the other tools that you used?
Oh, here we go.
I know. What did you do? All right.
Yeah, I mean, this is all, again, this is for better, not perfect, you know, but this going from 2 scary flights to 2 scary but manageable flights.
Yeah.
I just tried to stockpile as much as I could from you, and then also take stuff from the Brewer Unwinding Anxiety. That's the name of the app. By the way, if anyone struggles with that, you know, flight related or not, like it's that changed my life. The Unwinding Anxiety by Judd Brewer. It's an app. Yeah. Anyway, the first. So you talked about when you started flying, your instructor was concerning with wanting to occupy your time with tasks. And
I was going to. I got so sick in my first flight, I thought I was going to have to quit. Yeah.
And here you are. You know, it's like, obviously we were dealing with different things. It sounded like yours. You were essentially doing like aerobatics and had to be like coherent and deal with those things. Like, I'm just talking. These are just like commuter
believe
flights,
me,
you know?
we were in the same puddle of despair.
Yeah.
And mine, that's the only reason I put up through 4 years of the Air Force Academy, because I wanted to fly airplane. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what a waste of time if I got to quit.
Oh no, this was, I mean, I took all your stuff and pulled a little bit from Brewer as well. First of all, I would say writing with your left hand, writing your name, writing your full name. I eventually started writing sentences with my left hand, and it would take 5 minutes. You know, it would sucked, but that was the best part, is that it sucked. It makes your mind work for it. It's like totally the opposite. You know, it makes you, like, who wants to do that? But once you slow your mind down. Like, I swear,
and there's the key. It's sucky to do that. Yeah. But it slows you down, and I think that's the biggest thing. And I tell people, you know, if you're journaling and you got something that triggers you or whatever, that's also a side benefit, because now you can go back and work on that. So.
Oh, big time. I mean, like when I got on this flight, it was at Burbank, and it's sort of, I'm used to it a little bit now, but it's sort of off-putting because when I did it for the first time recently, you board on the tarmac and you see the plane. There's no like the I forget what. Like at LAX, when you actually like board the plane from the same level, jet bridge. Yeah. It's off-putting because it's like Burbank's so much easier. It's also like, whoa, this is like the plane. You see everything. You're on the tarmac. So,
right. Otherwise, you just kind of like a movie set in Hollywood. Yeah. You just walk through and there's seats back there. You don't know if there's wings or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, you don't know. It doesn't hurt you, I guess. But yeah, I walked on the plane and it was fine. And I sat next to a guy and we talked for a little bit, which is something that we'll chat about, is making friends with someone next to you, even if it's just a hello. Yeah. But I swear, like, I used our NeuroSync. I'll talk about that and everything, the one that you very kindly gave me. But I'm really trying. My point is, like, on that first couple minutes between sitting there and then taxiing and then taking off, I cannot tell you how much stuff I wrote in my little book. I got one of these little guys at the grocery store.
Oh yeah, yep.
And it's almost like it's made for this because it's called the flight book. So that helps. Yeah. But I actually, let me show you. I wrote everything from you know, this is like me talking about what I'm feeling initially. You know, and this is not left hand. This is actually just the journaling aspect. Eventually, it turned into, okay, you can tell when I start to taxi and take off because the writing starts to suck.
Right.
And so that's left hand. So anyway, I know I'm blabbing, but so okay, we got left hand, the straw, the drinking straw. I had that, let's see. I didn't use it too much. It was more of like a last minute, but I had a couple drinking straws just to like,
Sure.
you said it regulates the breathing, you know. My other favorite from the,
it forces you to focus on something else, which adds to the distractor quality, and it actually does. You can't hyperventilate with it because if you truly breathe through the straw, it restricts the amount of air that you can inhale and exhale, and slows you down.
and you know, with all these tests, I've got a few more I want to mention, but the cool thing is like I'm from the Gen Z crop where we grew up with phones, we grew up with email, technology, all that, and I'm at this point where I feel like I've got like some various form of ADHD that has sort of been built into us, because you have to just do so many things. You have to use this for school or this for your job or your phone or texting. It's all so instant, and I know that I feel like a mental tiredness all the time from dealing with that.
Yeah.
And it you know, when you say distraction, because I agree with the word, but my brain is just like, oh no, not another distraction. I don't want one of those. But I swear, these are great distractions because they suck a little bit. It's not, you're not responding to that Instagram DM that you have, or watching or reel after reel swiping. These are like tedious as hell little things that you do, but I cannot tell you how much they help me out. Another big one is noticing the sensations, noticing what you hear, like you know, monitoring your what do you call it? The sensations or your senses. Like, okay, what's that noise? Oh no, that's just this. Or like the turbulence. My alarm goes off right when I get turbulence, even though it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. It's like, oh God, we're gonna die. No. You like sit yourself down. Well, you're already seating, I guess, but you talk to yourself like, you know, no, I know what that is. That's just the turbulence. And you know, turbulence is never taking a plane out of the sky. Like, there's the possibility it could, but like, come on, it's gonna be fun. The squeeze is my other favorite, like where you just tense everything up for like a few, I don't know, 10, 30 seconds or whatever, and then you get that adrenaline cortisol release. Let's see. Oh, this is a personal one because I'm a musician. I play guitar, and I like to think about the notes on the fretboard. This is a fun one where it's like, okay, all 6 strings, all 24 whatever frets. It's tedious as ever, but just like, okay, what note is on this fret? What note is on that fret? What you have to think, you know, even if you know it like the back of your hand, you still have to think. And then, okay, I'm done with that. I move up the next fret, and it just grounds you. It's like, did you achieve anything by doing that? It's like, well, not really. I already knew the notes, but it's like you're slowing your mind down. That's the main thing. And I would say the other big one, the other big two, is the journaling, like we talked about, and the neurosync audio. That was another big key to staying cool on the you know, sitting in the plane, the door's still open, and that whole like claustrophobia thing is like, I don't want to be in here. I gotta get. It's like no, and I think that the main thing about I'll end all the exercises with this is. It felt like this guided audio. This is something that Capt Ron made for me specifically. It's like tailored to you, and he talks about your past fears and your experiences of like flying, and then kind of I guess how to move forward with it. And I think one of the best parts was early in the audio. You're like, imagine I'm sitting right next to you, the chair next to you, not judging, not like. You know, I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I had spoken with you twice on the call at this point, but I'm like, this is Capt Ron. This is someone who loves flying, did it every day. You said if you took all the time,
I could get out of it.
yeah. You said you took all the
paid, of course.
It's like all the time that you spent piloting alone was like 22,000 hours. That's the equivalent of staying in a plane for over 3 years.
3.5 years.
This is someone who absolutely adores flying. I adore flying too. You know, I'm just a little nervous about it. But like Capt Ron, with all of his enthusiasm, and he's smiley and friendly, and like he's been doing this so long. It felt like you were sitting right next to me, and it's just like, what the hell do I have to be worried about? You know, it made all the difference. So those are, I suppose, my crash course of things, because that takes, if you do each of those tests, it takes a decent amount of time, and again, the key, slowing down your brain.
Yeah. This is just a short one. You might not have anything, but what I tell people is whatever it is that triggers you, often it's a thought, but what happens when you get triggered is the biology starts. And where do you feel it when you say, oh, I'm about to go down that road?
I would say, yeah, I would say, again, for me, my problem is just the boredom, and I think this ties to the ADHD thing of our relationship to social media and technology and everything. I get bored very easily because I've had essentially 15 years of conditioning from a phone, computers, and all that. So my thing is I get bored during the cruise, and that boredom is just like, might as well look around. Oh, wait, that's right, I'm in the sky. Time to freak out, I start to feel it like a little bit in my heart or my chest area, just sort of like I did with when I was using the Brewer app a lot, and just very much in my mind. And now with these exercises, it's fine, but I can definitely recall feeling just the mild symptoms of like panic, like kind of motion sickness a little bit. Not really wanting to like throw up or anything, but just like again, as someone who doesn't like roller coasters, like I'm in this seat and I'm on a one-way ticket to hell kind of feeling, and that's definitely how I feel, and it just hijacks you. It's the elephant rider thing. That elephant doesn't care about the logic. It will do whatever it wants, So.
Yeah. And again, I think you're just a really awesome young man to be able to, because that's the essence of mindfulness, is noticing where your attention is, not trying to fix it, not trying to calm yourself, and you've given countless examples just in this last 10 minutes about you notice this, say, oh, that's just this, or that's just that. And it helps it helps people to detach emotionally, which is the problem, is you get all caught up in that. What would you, if you could talk to the Brian of yesteryear, who's afraid, and you're where you are now, what would you tell him?
Well, go to Capt Ron. I would say
I don't. That's not important, there's a lot of people, but thanks anyway. But what would you say to him based on what you've learned?
It's funny because it piggybacks off of what you just said before this, which is it's the slowing your mind, and something that Brewer also mentioned a lot, which was your breathing is so important to this, like like when you get a shot at the doctor or something, and I hate shots just as much as I hate flying. It's like it's been a while, but like they normally ask you to like, okay, breathe, keep the breath going. That was a big thing with Brewer, is like breathing, no matter what's going on inside you, breathing and regulating your breath and focusing on that. There's just something about it. I'm no scientist, I'm a musician. There's something about that that's, in my opinion, that's kind of what hijacks your attention back from the elephant. That's what gets you back, and it's painful. It's like this most subtle little bit of just discomfort and pain, where it's like you're not there's no needle in your arm, there's no like something going wrong, but it's that mental pain. But the breathing is what really gets you back to that spot, and it might only last a few seconds of where you're fine, but it takes you back and it resets you. These little exercises that we talked about, it resets you, and I would say that's probably the key, and that's probably what I would tell my previous self. Like, yeah, this is uncomfortable, but it's not just uncomfortable anymore. It's uncomfortable, but I can get through it. I've got these little tasks. These tasks, I mean, I think back to my flight the other day, coming back from Seattle, 2 hours, and I was just telling you over the email, like, we didn't get any food or drink service because it was too bumpy. And, God, years ago I would have been like, oh, no food or drink, so that means something is wrong, we're going down. Yeah. Versus this is like, okay, it's just a little bit bumpy, they just don't want to injure anyone with the cart, blah, blah, blah. The plane is fine. It's meant to travel through the air and sit in, like, it's meant to do this, and that's another thing I remember from the, what's it called? The harmonizer. The harmonizer. Yeah. That's right. And it's just meant to. So it's like I would say, there's the flight over the other day, especially with the discomfort. It was just in two different ballparks. Like where the first one was uncomfortable, and that was it. I had nothing to do, no exercises. I was just it was a a roller coaster from hell the whole time. This one, it was manageable. That's all I can say. I was just like, you know, do I want to go back up in the air right now? Well, honestly, kind of. Just because I'm like, the more I do this, the more, you know, we've talked about how inconvenient the whole flight thing is because it's a production, it's expensive, blah, blah, blah. You don't get to do it that much unless you're doing it for work or it's your job. But I would say, yeah, that's the big one. It's like the breathing and the mental exercises that just keep you grounded. And I will say, also a great distraction. I bought a Nintendo Switch with Mario Kart on it. That's the thing that I love to do. So once I ran through a lot of my exercises, and it's not like I just plugged in and was just like, please take me from this discomfort. But whenever I'd feel
the Mario thing would not have worked had you not done the other thing.
No, because it's stimulation, it's colors, and I love it. But it's also like it only worked because of these exercises. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. So, and you've said so many things that people could get what they need out of there, but just quickly, what would you say somebody who's sitting here? Typically, they'll say, "Well, he wasn't that bad," you know.
Like what I was like.
What would you recommend to somebody out there who's watching right now, and they'd say, "Oh man, I don't think I could do this."
As far as seeking help.
Yeah. Whatever. What would you tell them? What advice would you give them? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it has so much to do with Capt Ron. It really does, because this is someone that I met for the 15-minute Zoom call, which turned into like an hour. And I'm not trying to like demystify or like screw you out of your money or anything, but you are so generous. You are so kind and courageous and encouraging. That's one of the I mean, all the others for sure, but encouraging is just what grabs me, because I'm like, that's what when you're in the moment, when you're in the sky and way that high up where I didn't want to be, and I can think about friendly Capt Ron sitting next to me, even if he's not there, he's next to me, you know, like the talks that we've had, and just the overall encouragement that I get from you, and you're still doing this. I thought I was screwed, man. I looked you up and I'm like, oh, he doesn't do the in-person classes anymore or whatever, because some of these news reports of like the flights that you would do out of Burbank,
face to face,
yeah, and it's like, I'm like, oh, I must have missed the boat on this one. But the fact that it's like, right, I got lucky. So
you made your own luck. That's my estimation of it, and it's really important. I mean, because one of the things that I found, I think sometimes I'm shooting myself in the foot because I make a big deal. The only time you really have any evidence is if you do have a class and you can get people live and interview them and capture some on video, stuff like that. But then the downside is then everybody wants to be in my presence or something. I'm saying,
totally,
no, you don't have to do that. Just do a 15-minute call like Brian did, and just figure out what you need to do for yourself the next time. And it's great. And I am going to invite you to come up to Valencia when we do it probably in April. We're setting we should have that this week by the time I get back. But it is helpful to have the facilities to get on an airplane like that. But you're living proof. You don't have to. You just got to have an attitude of commitment. And that's that's to me what describes you and so many other people like you. And you got a attitude, Brian. You got it.
Thank you. It's shocking because just to kind of end on this, my uncle who's rough, I think he's about 63 at the time. So this is maybe 7 years ago. He had a bad run-in with his own anxiety, and I didn't understand it. I was like 17 or something. I was just like, oh, Uncle Mark's dealing with something, and you know, and it was tough. But it was flight related, but it was also very much in his personal life, kind of like mine. And then it hit me 5 years later. I had kind of the same run-in, and I'm like, what the hell is going on if a 63-year-old dude with his own thing is going on, and I'm like 22 at the time, and I'm having like all the exact same, we're having like the same experience just at different times. I'm like, what the hell is going on? How has society shifted with this? And while I still don't know, I think it has a lot to do with this. But I gotta say, like, getting through it, and obviously the brewer thing helps, but you know, talking with you and just going through the step by step, I mean, it's really about that whole, it won't be perfect, it's just got to be better. And I swear, man, these last 2 flights I took, tiresome, kind of draining, but so much better. And I know that when I go to visit her, she's going to come here next month, but 2 months from now, when I go to see her, like I'm gonna have my checklist, I'm gonna have everything, I'm gonna have my Nintendo, you know, ready to kill some time with,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to it. It's nerve-wracking, but I'm looking forward to it. Get out of your chair and in the air and do your thing, you know.
And you make a plan. That's
Hmm.
that's the thing. And I think with so many people, it seems so nebulous or so out in the air or somewhere. What do I do if I want to get over a fear of flying? I
Yeah.
can't get in the airplane. I mean, you just go do it. I got to have something. And most people do. I think they tend to try to believe that they can get to a point where they won't have any anxiety really, and that's
Yeah.
not the case. It takes activating your anxiety in order to get better and learn how to deal with it.
It
So
does. You gotta. It's like. I mean, I had the same thing with the brewer thing. It's so funny, like just all the parallels where it's like, it. At least with that one, when I was like in it, and when I was trying to figure out where, not even get through, just where is the path to the exit on this, and it's like you're staring at like an abyss head on. It's just like, what do I do? But it really is. I mean, it was uncomfortable. It just the mental tiredness that you can get. Or that's how it feels, where it's just like all these exercises and I don't want to do that. Why can't I just be fine? That's the thing. Why can't I just be fine, you know? But I swear with that, this is only a couple months old that I've been kind of working through this, but already, I mean, it helps that I was able to do the brewer thing already, that app and everything, but it really is going for it, because I thought to myself, I'm like, well, I'm 25. Do I really want to have this for the rest of my life? I'm trying to be a touring musician, and like, even if it's uncomfortable going forward, at least I'll do it. You know, I don't want to like say goodbye to my possible career or visiting my girlfriend over. I'm too young to like to throw all that away. You know, it's so anyway. It's been a pleasure. I can't stress it enough. Like just using this program and talking with Captain Ron, it really works wonders.
thanks, Brian. I can't tell you how much fun it was to meet you and to listen to you talk about it. It's just great.
Thanks.
So I wish you the best. I want to stay connected to you. I want to hear how you
Mhm.
do. I want to hear how your
Mhm.
career goes. So
Thank you.
make it big quickly. At my age, I don't have that much time. So, but I want to hear. I want to say, I know him. I know him.
Yeah. Man, that guy had a bunch of. I know of a weird obsession. He used to like watching aircraft crashes.
Yeah.
You know,
So
but
I hope to meet you face to face, and thanks for taking the time, Brian. I
for
really
sure. Thank you to everybody out there. You can do it. No matter what's going on, you can do it, and just stick with the captain. Seriously.
see you, Brian. Thanks.
All right, man. Take care.